Hey guys, what's going on? Today I'm going to be going over how you should be playing pistol rounds in CS2. The pistol round is one of the most important rounds in the game, and if you play it wrong, you're going to end up losing a big advantage that you could have at the start of the half. And the great thing about pistol rounds is you can always keep it so simple so anyone can be good at it. So today I'm going to go over some of the mechanics and theory that you need to know if you want to play pistol rounds at a high level in CS2. But first, before we go further, I do have to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is an automated trading site that allows you to take some of your old skins and trade them in for some new ones. There are a ton of skins on the site, but if you're looking for something specific, you can use the filter to find the skin that you're looking for. And when you're making your first trade on the site, make sure to use my code GRAPE for a bonus of up to $5 for free. If you see a skin on the site that you want and you don't have one of equal value, you can also deposit money with a 30% bonus plus an extra 5% if you use my code GRAPE at checkout. And even if you don't have anything to trade, they do free giveaways every single day, so there's literally nothing to lose by joining SkinsMonkey. So just make sure to use the link in my description and have fun trading. The first thing you need to know for pistol rounds is that you always have to be buying something. This might seem really obvious for some of my higher level viewers, but a lot of my students think that it's okay to save because they want to have more money on the second round. But really buying something, at least armor on the pistol round, is a really good investment because it's going to give you a higher percent chance to win the round. And then when we win the round, we're going to have more money and obviously be up a round. Now, another mistake I see my students make is having everybody buy something. It's really important for a majority of your players to have armor on the pistol round because fights on pistol where you don't have armor are really hard to win. Since aim punch is really strong in CS, if you don't have armor and you get spammed down by pistols, your crosshairs are just going to go everywhere. So in reality, you only really want 1 or 2 people on your team buying something that is not armor. So for example, on the CT side, you might want to have someone buy a kit and a smoke. A kit and a smoke can be very important because if you're playing retake on one side of the map, you're not going to want to have no way to drop a smoke on the bomb. And if you have no kit, a 10-second defuse is a lot harder to make. Also, since the Ts are also on pistol, since they only have Glocks, it's a lot harder for them to spam the smoke that you're defusing in, giving you a higher percent chance to get the defuse down if your teammates are covering you. You might also see some of the CTs dropping dualies to their teammates, having 2 people with armor and dualies. The dualies can be really good in up close positions. So for example, you could give dualies to one of your teammates and have them play top balk. And if the T's try and do anything palace, this person's just going to have a field day on them running out. You could even set them up close ramp for the same thing, or just any forward position that they can hold down themselves. And they're going to have a good chance of getting a multi-frag. But more often than not, it's fine for everyone to just have USPs, but just make sure at least one of your teammates has a kit smoke for the retake. I do want to talk a little bit about theory for CT side pistols. On CT side, it is okay to start standard. So on a pistol round, maybe just have one person get kit smoke. That could be your A player. He can just play retake CT. You can have one person con, one person start window, one person towards cat, and one person B. A very standard start. This can be okay, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but we can play pistols a little bit smarter. Since we know that the Ts are most likely going to be grouped together, we also want to be playing together. If we have our B player playing solo on the site, and then we have 3 people committed towards mid, if the Bs do any sort of B exec or A exec, yes, we might be playing retake towards A to live, but our B player, if he's also playing retake or if he's playing to hold by himself, he's not going to hold the site by himself. And if he's playing retake, we're not really going to have a good chance of retaking the B site. If we give it to them entirely in a 5v5, they're going to be in forward positions like E box, bench, get right, upper B post plant. It's going to be really hard to retake. So what you want to do is play retake on one side of the map and then stack the other. So the reason we would have one person go towards CT and play retake with the kit smoke is that they don't need armor to take fights since they're just going to have a kit smoke. They can just jump spot for the info, and then as soon as they see anyone, they just fall back and live, and they're not taking any early fights, so it doesn't matter that they don't have armor. And that frees up the rest of our players to stack towards B. Since we already know we're playing retake A, we don't have to worry about having multiple people there. So we can just have one person go window to spot mid to see if they run out at the start of the round. So he can float around here and just making sure they're not walking out mid late, maybe jump spotting underpass for a con walk, and then our 3 B players can play in a setup together. So for example, we could have one person get right, one person jail, and then one person jump spotting and falling back site. That way, as soon as he sees anyone, he's falling back towards site, playing somewhere around default, and then these 2 players are playing in a crossfire. That way, if they go B, we're playing to hold the site, and there's a good chance that we actually hold the site since we're stacked here. If they go towards A, we already know we're playing retake, so that's fine. And if they go mid, we're playing for the info, so we can play reactively off that as well. If our mid player says they're running out mid, he can fall back and see if they're running up cat. If they're running up cat, good, our B players just look that way. And if they're running up con, same thing, they're going towards A, and we are playing retake A. So that is just a very simple way to set up your round. Instead of playing off of both sites, we have to understand that there is a high chance that the Ts are just going to go straight into a site, so we have to play for at least one of them. Now, one big mistake I see a lot of people make with buying nades on the CT side is that they will buy a molly and then throw it at the start of the round. I have seen players do something like this, where they buy a molly on CT side pistol, run towards B, and then just throw the molly upper B at the start of the round. Now, this molly can be good on gun rounds, but it is not as useful on the pistol round. Yes, there is a chance that the Ts are going to rush B, but the chance just isn't really that high. And if the Ts do not rush B, your molly is completely wasted. And since you only have $800 to spend, If you just threw $500 on the ground and it literally stopped no one because the T's were just walking towards A, then it is a huge waste. The only reason you can pre-molly up or B on gun rounds is because you have the money to spend, and it is a way of conditioning the T's to understand that they can't just rush B for free. But just throwing this on pistol round is not a good idea, and there's really just no situation where I could say it's okay to just throw your molly at the start of the round on pistol round. It will probably never be useful unless you get lucky and the T's were actually trying to rush. But even then, if the T's were going to rush B and they do get stopped by your molly, yes, you initially stopped the rush, but what if they see your molly and then just walk away and go back towards A? Yeah, you stopped the rush, but now when you take a fight, you're going to have no armor and no molly. So the only situation where buying a molly and an HE is good is if you're saving them to throw when you actually know people are in a position that you're going to throw the nade to. So for example, it might be okay for you to jump spot B like this and then drop your molly as soon as you see anyone. That way you might cut off some of the other players from scaling out, forcing some of the players that are jumping out window to be alone. That way we know we're getting value from our nades instead of just throwing them randomly. Now as for the T side, your nades are a lot more important than the CTs. Yes, on the CT side, it is important to have a kit and a smoke, but it still might not be that hard to win around without it. Even if you have to play the retake, if you hit your shots, you're just going to be fine. But on the T side, if you have no smoke for the site that you're going to, it's going to be pretty tough. You usually want to have at least one person buying a smoke, then he could buy a smoke and 2 flashes, or he could even drop a P250 to one of your teammates. The P250 can be really strong on T side because you can play long range with it, and you usually want to drop this to your best player so that when you do something like an A pop, he can take the fight towards CT, and if anyone's playing there, he might be able to get the first pick, making the round a lot easier. But yeah, just like CT side, having armor is very important for the T's. At most, you probably only want to have 2 people buying nades, but one person will still be fine. For example, we could have one person buy a smoke flash P250, drop a P250 like I said, tell our teammates to walk towards ramp, smoke top con for them when they get close, save our flash and just have the person we drop the P250 to lead out of ramp. Then when everyone's scaling, since we have a top con smoke, we're going to want to scale towards jungle, and we can use our flash towards stairs like so, just flashing off anyone playing around stairs or jungle, and our teammate can take the space like this. That is a very simple example of doing something together with the limited nades we have, but if you were to all 5 buy armor and then try and do the same thing, trying to scale out of ramp would be hard if anyone's playing from CT, and then taking any control towards jungle or CT will be impossible, since the CTs would be able to just hold any of these positions that they want. We would literally never be able to scale across the site, so it's important you buy at least one smoke on the T side. And one more thing I actually forgot to mention is that the P250 is good for the T's, but it is not good for the CTs. The only reason you use the P250 on the T side is to get an equal ground with the USP. So there's no point for the CTs to ever buy a P250 on the pistol round. So if you ever see anyone do this, tell them they are a noob and be super toxic to them. No, I'm kidding, don't do that, but yeah, they definitely should not be buying a P250. And as for theory on the T side, it's very simple. We have to kind of assume the CTs are going to be playing in the correct way. So like I said before, more often than not, they're going to have a stack towards one side and playing retake on the other. So we're either going to gamble and just go into one of the sites, whether we're going for an A pop or a B pop, or we might be playing more of a default and looking for clues on where the CTs might be stacking. So for example, we might want to try and do something more towards mid, maybe even buy 2 smokes and use one on window, and then inspect up con and cat, trying to see if we spot any sort of stack on either of the sites, and then reacting to the site where we know the stack is not. Now that can be harder in lower level games and pugs because you can't really coordinate that super well with your team. So more often than not, you're just going to be buying some nades and gambling and going towards one of the sites, hoping that there isn't a stack, and if there is, just hoping that you win the round. But yeah, T-side pistols are a lot more simple than CT side, and the Glock is just broken. With the Glock, you can just move and shoot really easily. You honestly never have to stop. Like even look at this long range fight that I'm taking towards window. Obviously you're not going to do this. I mean, you might, but look at how accurate you are when you're moving and shooting. I can literally just be aiming towards window and taking shots like this. Not every shot hit, but if anyone was standing here, they probably would have got headshot. And you should use this everywhere you're going. If you're scaling out B, you shouldn't stop in positions like this and take fights if someone's towards bench. You should always just keep moving and shooting across the site because you are just so accurate and you're making yourself a very hard target. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to go over, which was actually in the thumbnail of the video, was a picture of someone jumping out of palace like this, not even looking towards anyone. And it looks really silly, but there's a reason for this. Because the CTs are always going to be aiming for your head, if your first entry always just swings out in a super straight line like this, there's a pretty good chance the CT is just going to own the people running out of palace. If the CT has good crosshair placement, they're just going to one-tap you and the next person. But as the first entry, if you make yourself a super hard target, they're going to have to try and track you while you're jumping around like a madman, and the person behind you can peek out while they're trying to shoot you and get a kill on them. Same thing towards B, you want your first entry jumping out the window like this. If everybody just swings across the window, there's a chance that someone's just going to kill every single one of you very easily. So make sure that you're never doing that as the first entry. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to go over for today. If you have any questions, you can leave a comment down below, check out my Discord, or leave a message in my Twitch chat when I'm live. If you're interested in coaching, I have a Medify link in the description below. But yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the recommended video in the middle of your screen. I picked it especially for you.